Today, before we start, we will take an anonymous poll. So it's anonymous, so please be very forthcoming. Vinay, can you launch the poll?
For certain questions, you can select more than one option uh, where it is written multiple choice. Sorry, is everyone able to see the poll? Nobody is voting.
Oh, it says attendees are, okay, now viewing questions. Okay.
Those who just joined, there is a poll that is launched, and it will be great if you can just take the poll.
Yes, I was able to take it. I couldn't respond to you because I was taking it at that point.
No problem, no problem.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, this question, you can select multiple answers as Vinay mentioned.
So 4 more people to vote. Three more. Not sure who all might be remaining to vote. I think yeah, I think we are done.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Okay.
So while Vinay and Hari review the poll, so the idea for today's program came about because of some informal conversations that we were having while we were planning for Epsilon. So one thing that we've noticed is the dichotomy that exists between the learning options that are available today and the learning choices that we end up making for our children. So when it comes to choosing a career or college for your child, there is no one single answer. So the purpose of this discussion is not for any quick answers, but to talk about things that educators like Vinay and Hari have seen when children end up making incorrect career choices or incorrect choices when it comes to choosing a college. And perhaps this will help us in guiding them when we have to help our children take college courses or even their career choices. So I will start asking questions and just lay the ground and set the ball rolling. And then I will hand it over to the parents to ask Vinay and Hari any questions that you have. So let's start with perhaps a philosophical question. So, what do you think is the purpose of learning, and how can this purpose fuel a student's career? Vinay or Hari? Perhaps Hari, you want to start?
I was going to say senior can start, but okay, I'll start. So it's a very interesting and very important question, I think. The way I think about learning is there are two main goals when it comes to learning or education. One is that you're looking at some outcomes that you want to achieve in the short term. So it could be that I want to finish certain assignments. When you look at very short term, then it could be I want to complete a particular topic or a course, and all these should kind of knit together to achieve your long-term goals. And the long-term goals are something related to improving your ability to think critically, your ability to improve creativity. And these kind of objectives are very difficult to measure. And it's very difficult to motivate people when it comes to achieving long-term goals. And that's where we need a lot of support from the family around us, or from the society, so to say. And when it comes to learning, there are three main factors which affect learning. One is your ability, the second is the motivation, and the third is the opportunity. I do not have any doubt in my mind that all the kids who are in Epsilon are have the ability to do well, or ability to learn. Now comes the factor of motivation and opportunity, and that's where the role of parents is important, and they play a very important role in providing these opportunities or motivation. And in that process, I think it's very important for us to ensure that we tell the kids how important it is to think about these long-term goals whenever they are learning the courses, or whenever they are learning anything that they are doing. So I think this is the broad picture of how I look at learning. I will elaborate on the points as we proceed.
Vinay?
Yeah, thanks, Hari. So, I think learning, every living organism does some kind of learning. It knows what it is supposed to do and what it is not supposed to do, what is threat and what is not, what is food and what is not. But that comes as a natural instinct more often. But when it comes to humans, because we have this mind and intellect, there is there is a urge to know more. There is a urge to learn more. So there is an urge that keeps us pushing to learn more things. So that is one kind of learning that I can think about, where it is self motivated, it is self driven, and we feel that we should be learning this particular thing, right? So somebody who's interested in music, I mean, they wouldn't think about a purpose of learning music. They just feel like learning. So there is an urge.
Hmm.
The other is we learn things for the sake of something. It could be something like, riding a bicycle, or, knowing how to file your tax returns, or it could be, swimming or driving, whatever. So these we learn so that we can use that somewhere in our life. And these are things that maybe some of these things we don't enjoy, but then we don't have a choice. So we have to learn. So I see these two as, certain things that we are motivated to learn and certain things that we are forced to learn. Now, I mean, like Hari said, needless to say, the kids in this group, they are motivated to learn math, and they do that. But at the same time, they may or may not like learning certain other life skills which they need. But then they have to do that. So I think learning, I mean, for me, it comes under these two categories: one motivated by the urge, and one motivated by the need to survive or make a living, or whatever you want to call it. So
Hmm.
yeah.
So whether it is the learning for the sake of learning, because you want to learn for the joy of learning, or because you have an urge, or because you have to survive in this world, or because you have to align it to the long term goals of learning. And now, how can all of this help in picking your career? So let's say we have children here who love math, and they're doing math for the sake of doing math, and they put in many hours of many hours in a day doing math. So it comes from an urge as well as a love for learning math. Now, how can this practically fuel a career for them?
uh, can i can
Sure.
I go
Yeah.
ahead? Okay. So I think first of all, when we say math, I mean, I'm saying this because as a school student, I never knew what math was. So when we talk about math, generally the people who are not from a mathematics background, They might feel math is just about computation, or maybe you deal with statistics. We can see a few areas where math is aligned to, but then math is on which many other branches, or almost every branch of sciences or social sciences stands today, and without that you cannot go ahead. So when we talk about whether they want to choose math, we are not talking about whether they want to choose math only in the pure math form. We are also talking about whether they want to choose math in some other applied form, and those are also mathematics. So economics, Hari would say what he is doing what he did in his PhD program was more of math and economics, and under the name of accounting. And but we cannot digest that. We don't think that okay, economics can be math. I mean, of course those who are from that background would know. So I think how do you build a career, or how do you direct it towards a long term goal? I think the first thing that we'll have to do is expose them to various fields and see different flavors of math, so that they can understand, oh, this what I did, this is also math. And it's not it I mean, I don't see any kind of math like this, or nobody can even call this as mathematics in my school. So once they get exposed to different things, then I think they'll be in a better position to decide. No, I mean, immediately think of one of our students. He wanted to do physics. When he was in 8th standard, he was so passionate about physics, 8th and 9th standard. And then he happened to attend a talk on computer science. Okay. And many a times it so happens, right? We attend a talk, we become very motivated, we feel that this is what I really want to do in my life. So he also felt that I should pursue computer science in my life. So he said, it's not physics, it is computer science that I wanted to pursue. And he started doing more math and all that. And then he started attending Hari's session, and then he felt that, oh my God, what I really like is an intersection of math, computer science, and economics. So economics really drives him, but it's not the kind of economics which I learned in college, like microeconomics, macroeconomics, and only demand, supply, price, and those kind of things. So he found his love and his area where he can really excel, because he was exposed to different programs, and then he could do. So I think this is something that we really have to do as teachers and parents, that expose them to various areas and not think about, oh no, my child is, or my student is going to do in computer science, so why do they have to attend a course in finance? Or maybe he wants to pursue this, why should he do something in programming? So these kind of divisions we should set apart, and then see how we can expose them. And I think that way they'll find their true love, so to say.
Mm.
And
This exposing of children to different streams in math is something I think Hari also brings up often, because there's so many learning choices these days. You have so many free courses on Udemy, and a lot of the top Ivy Leagues nowadays offer free courses. So that is something that is definitely doable these days, because the way the education landscape has changed these days. Hari, you have anything to add to what Vinay said?
Yeah, I think Vinay made a very important point, that is exposure. And that I think makes a huge difference to students who select their career options. When we look at career options selected, most of the times it's the traditional route we think about. And that traditional route generally is an outcome of students not having enough exposure, or even for that matter parents not having enough exposure. I mean, if you're going to ask my parents when I was a kid, should I become a cricketer, the answer would have been absolutely not. So you don't ask someone who has absolutely no idea in a particular field whether I should pursue something in that field. If you ask Mahendra Singh Dhoni's if you ask Mahendra Singh Dhoni whether I should become a cricketer, he's in a better position to guide you. What are the benefits, or what are the limitations, or the frustrations that come up with it. But along with that, I think one thing that complements, and that's a very important message that we should give the kids, and that is, not every single day you will be able to pursue something that interests you. And I see a lot of students who only want to do something that is interesting to them. So in mathematics, Even within mathematics, they will say that, okay, I will only pursue something in number theory. The other areas, I am not that much interested. I mean, that's a good strategy to have when you are specializing in something. But this is not the age of specialization. This is an age of getting exposure to wide topics. And that is a very important message, why I feel, is because when you grow up, you have this notion that every single day I will be doing something interesting, and that doesn't happen every day. And we all know that in our 10 hours of work, even if we are doing something interesting for 1 hour, and we feel that, oh wow, today was really an interesting time at work, then we are creating some kind of a wrong notion in these kids' minds that they can always pursue something that is interesting. So there are a lot of mundane things that they have to do. So we have to make sure that we also tell them this along with when they select some career options in their life.
I think that's a very good point to take home and drill, because I have definitely seen kids in math camps where they will refuse to do the problem set if it's too easy or too hard. If it's too easy, it's too easy, I'm bored, or if it's too hard, it's like I don't want to sit and persevere. But you should be willing to have that stretch. That's a very important point for us to take home. So one thing we've noticed in college options in India, so the top tier colleges, the IITs, then the BITS, state colleges, NITs, there is a big gap between those top colleges and then the next tier of colleges. To be honest, there's a big gap in terms of the peer group as well as teaching and so on. So what happens is that most kids who are very smart think that this is the only career choice. I mean, this is the choice for us for college. So they end up taking coaching classes from a very young age, because if you do not put in a couple of years of coaching, you really don't stand a good chance of getting into these colleges. What are the fallouts of this? I mean, emotionally, socially, as well as mathematically. When you have no choice and so you end up preparing for these exams for a couple of years, I mean, are there any fallouts, or is it a good thing? Because sometimes you look at that curriculum and you feel like this curriculum is much better than the math and science I'm getting at school. Parents, if you have any questions, please raise your hand as well, and you can also put it in the chat box. um,
So- Sorry, Sindhu, that was a very long question. Can you just trim it down?
so so there's a large gap between the top colleges in India, like the IITs, as well as and the the second tier colleges, right? So kids don't have much of a choice, uh, but to prepare for those top colleges, because you really don't want to end up in a second or third tier colleges, because your peer group is not going to be good, you're not going to have good teachers as well. So once you start preparing, that's not a 1 year or 2 years, sometimes it takes years for you to even stand a chance to get into these top colleges. So what is the fallout of having to take that course?
Can I go ahead with that? I think I will take a step back on this question, and I will say that there is a lot of self selection that is going on when we talk about the top colleges, or why these top colleges are really at the top. And that is because one of the main reasons is the students. The students who go there are really, really, really talented and motivated. So there is a peer group interaction that plays a very, very important role. But I have absolutely no doubt that these kids, if they go to a different college, would be successful as well. I think a very important point over here is the self motivation or the self drive of the students. Let me give you an example how self selection plays an important role, and it is not necessarily the cause and effect story here. So imagine that there is a pizza shop, and that pizza shop wants to increase the sales of its pizzas sold. So what it does is it recruits three people, and it tells them that these are the pizza coupons. Why don't you sell this? Why don't you distribute this pizza coupons? The objective is obviously we want to increase the sales of pizza. Now these three people just go on distributing the pizza coupons. However, the pizza company is, or the pizza shop is now trying to understand whether these discount coupons that they have distributed actually increase as the sales. What it observes is that two people who distribute the pizza coupons are not successful at bringing customers, but one person is absolutely successful. It just, the difference is day and night difference among the three. So these two people ask the third person, what is it that you're doing differently, that that the pizza shop is getting so many customers through you, but we are not successful? So the third person says it's very simple. I just hand out these pizza coupons to people who are standing in the queue to buy pizzas. So now what is happening is basically these people would have anyways come to buy pizzas, are getting the coupons. So it is not the case that the coupons are actually resulting in more sales. So you have actually spent money on discount coupons without any benefit. And that is exactly what happens with these top colleges. These top colleges are really good. Take me wrong, but there is a huge factor of this self selection of the kids or the students who go there, that really makes this difference in their life. Now coming on to your question, what are the fallouts and all? I think one of the major fallouts that happens is that they are so much focused on learning or cracking the exam, that the learning on the other fronts take a backseat, and that happens at a very important stage in their life. At the age of 13, at the age of 14, at the age of 15 is the golden age for students when it comes to education. Like when it comes to sports, there is a shelf life. Similarly you peak in terms of learning, and that's the age group when majority of the bright minds, if we try to look at great mathematicians or the great people who have got Nobel prizes, that's the age when they have actually gone ahead and decided that what I want to pursue. So I think that's the big fallout according to me. Of course, there are other things also. I think Vinay sir can add more to that. What
But
happens?
Hari, what the examples that you are giving us are all outliers, right? Nobel
Oh,
Prize
epsilon
winners.
kids are outliers as well.
Vinay?
Yeah. So yeah, I would like to share a few examples, of students I've seen and I've worked with at least a couple of years, if not for 6 or 7 years. So there is a girl I know. She was very good in sports in school, and her temperament was such that she doesn't like to do repetitive things. So that was her nature, and she likes more challenges and things like that. And till eighth grade, ninth grade, the parents were like, okay, we will let them do what she wants to do, no compulsion, all that. But the moment they reach to 10th standard, or 11th standard is too late, 10th standard, there is a lot of peer pressure on the parents as well. They start doubting their own self that okay, everybody is doing this. Will I be out of this particular race, and will I be missing something? Am I doing the right thing if I don't put them into some kind of coaching, for these entrance exams? So they say, okay, we'll do it as a backup and not like this. The problem of selecting it as a backup, or as the first, I mean, first thing is, of course, if they are passionate about it, then they should definitely do it. But if you have a temperament of somebody who cannot do things repetitively, sing the same song again and again, then these coaching centers can really take the entire juice out of you, because you cannot survive there, and that is not your kind of personality. So end of the day, they end up wasting 2 years of their life. And I mean, after a particular point of time, they realize that okay, this is not perhaps something that I should have done. So not a big deal, the earlier we realize, the better, and we can change streams and things like that. But those 2 years, that 11th and 12th standard, where students do a lot of, that's when they get out of school and they go to a junior college. Many a times they get into cultural events and all these things. And here They are put in a particular, they see a classroom and that's it. That's their entire life for 2 years. They miss out on so many things. And then without a single, I'm sorry, nothing against anybody, but without a single percent of guilt, many of these parents say that, oh, we made a good choice, that she doesn't want to go for these kind of courses and she's going to do. But what about the damage that happened for 2 years, right? That we cannot take back. So many of these decisions happen as a peer pressure. That is one. Second is the students who have got into IITs and those kind of institutes after doing this kind of rigorous training in 11th and 12th. From what I have understood from them is that if you want to get into IIT, and that is that, and your personality suits that particular thing, that you can put in that kind of labor and you can do things over and over again, then do get a coaching, but not before 11th standard, because 11th and 12th you get drilled with that particular thing. You yourself are willing to get into that with that particular thing. So by the time you are at your peak, you are giving your exam. But
Mm.
the moment you drop, even last year it happened, right? The JEE exams were pushed to August or something like that. So these kids, even 12th standard students for that matter, right now, their exams, so they start showing a decline in their performance. So the earlier we put, so what happens is, in most of these coaching centers they teach advanced 1 year ahead. So it is technically not advanced because there is nothing deep. If you wait for a year, we are going to learn the same thing in school, but that the kind of depth and breadth that they could get by doing things outside the curriculum is not going to happen. And they will end up doing the curriculum only just 1 year in advance, and that's all. So by the entire process, they will be just missing out on the joy of learning. And I've got these responses from children of coaching centers, who run this, who have come for Ram TP and all that, and they have said that this is not how they work with us, even in our coaching center. So I think the fallout is this: you reduce your performance if you start quite early. And it's just like that, right? Marathon, I mean, we don't start running in full speed when we start the marathon, right? We save that energy for the best time. So I mean, for me, that is the biggest danger that I see, and I keep seeing that every year, and I can only empathize with those students. And yeah, the students, I mean.
This is a good takeaway, especially for epsilon kids, because for them, math is a very creative endeavor. So when you have to, when you put them in these coaching classes and they have to do the same type of questions, same pattern multiple times, it definitely will be a killjoy for them. So, uh, if a student is passionate about math, like the epsilon kids, and they don't get into the CMIs and the IASCs and the ICERs, then what are the options that are available for these students in India? How are the math programs in IITs and NITs these days?
I think
Sridhar?
the
Yeah.
yeah, I think there are a lot of good courses offered in IITs as well. So there are programs like you can do a 5-year integrated course on computational mathematics, for example, where you are combining your skills in computer science and mathematics. Because see, there are a lot of open questions in mathematics which are very hard to even fathom how to go about solving those problems. So that's where your knowledge of computer science comes to an aid. So you can actually simulate and see what kind of results you can get. So there is that intersection, and that intersection really IITs do a fantastic job because they have very strong departments in both these areas. So I think NITs, IITs have very, very good programs that involve mathematics, especially when it comes to applied areas. Even outside the traditional fields, like when you think about statistics, for example, Indian Statistical Institute does a fantastic job, and statistics is now becoming one of the most useful areas with so much data available, data analytics. You can combine statistics with economics and computer science as well. Then there are colleges that provide very good training in economics, like the Shri Ram College of Commerce or the St. Stephen's College in Delhi. So there are very good colleges outside the traditional areas when we think about mathematics, which is mostly into natural sciences. But even the social sciences require a lot of good mathematical skills. So that's another area that can be explored as well.
Vinay, can you tell us a little bit about the new liberal arts colleges that are coming up? Kazim Premji University, Ashoka University. And will that be a fit for most of these kids from Epsilon, or are they targeted towards kids who have, a more balanced portfolio?
So I think, Sindhu, it depends on the child's interest. For example, one of the students, from Ram TP, he is in Ashoka University. And we were just chatting, I think last year or something like that. And then I asked, okay, how did you get into this particular university? What are you pursuing? They said, I'm pursuing computer science and psychology. So now, how many of us can even think of such a combination offered in a particular undergraduation course? So I asked him, how do you get into that particular thing? He said there is an entrance exam of theirs, which is mainly based on normal aptitude test, critical thinking type of questions and things like that. And then there is an on the spot essay. So they give a particular topic and instantly you have to write an essay, and then there is an interview and so on. So the good thing for this fellow to get into that particular college is that he is interested in many things. He is interested in languages, he is interested in drama, so he could take up a course on drama over there, as an elective. So they get to blossom with whatever areas that they want to work in. And even within the IITs, there are different IITs which are better at different things. So instead of just aiming for the top colleges, it would be a very good thing to talk to students, I think, who have gone through that, who have passed out, and ask them, okay, what are the different options that you have? If somebody is interested in sports, then what are the different options? Do you have this sport and things like that, so that they can continue doing that. So like, okay, coming back to Ashoka, this is the kind of entry that you can get in. When you talk about some place like Azim Premji University, they even take on SAT scores.
Hmm.
So if you people who might be giving SATs for going, trying to pursue UG abroad, so they take in based on SAT scores, and they have an aptitude test again followed by an interview and so on. And then you get, but then over there it is whatever course you take, along with that you need to have some kind of outlook towards service to the society and things like that. So that is a kind of mindset that APU has. So these are very good options that can be explored, where it is not just the math part that they can do. Like Swamiji said it on the first day, they can balance out on the other areas as well, and they can find it more fulfilling. So I think making that decision which college to go should depend on what kind of personality you have, and then talk to a few students. And I think they'll find a lot of, well, for example, JNU has a small unit of mathematics over there, but they have ISI Delhi next to them, they have IIT Delhi next to them, right? So like how CMI has IMSC, Institute of Mathematical Sciences in Chennai, so they allow students in CMI to take courses from IMSC, and these courses might be PG level courses. So they or even PhD level courses. So our Aditya and Sundar, all these people, they attend the undergrad courses, but with the permission from their prof, they can attend courses from IMSC as well. So like that, there will be a lot of options which are available, and that I think we need to think and consider, and take a call. So it would be a good exercise to start looking at all these options by the time they are in 8th or 9th grade, and see what are the different options available, and try to get access to different students who have been, I'm sure a lot of discussion forums would have answers for many of these questions. So yeah, try to interact with a few students. Yeah.
And Hari, there's plethora of options when you think about this in the United States and some European countries. Can you give us a little bit of insight into that?
So when we talk about applied fields, so applied areas is what I will talk about. I mean, in some sense, engineering is an applied area as well. So um, when it comes to applied areas, the the demand for the skills has changed drastically in the last 20-30 years, and accordingly you can see a lot of teams now in the organization are multidisciplinary, and that's where the education is also going in terms of the courses that you take, or courses that are offered. And therefore it will be very important, like Vinay mentioned, to go to universities which can provide you with this kind of multidisciplinary approach. Like he mentioned JNU, the advantage of going to JNU could be that there is IIT Delhi, ISI next to it, so you can get into multidisciplinary options. That is exactly the benefit that you get if you go to universities in US or Europe, because these universities have all the programs in one campus. So it's not a specialized college kind of an education which we traditionally have been used to in India. So here you get an opportunity to do courses in a different department. For example, when I did my PhD in accounting, uh, most of my courses were in the Department of Economics. There were some courses that I was always interested in psychology. I was interested in the math department courses. I was interested in the courses offered by computer science. So it is kind of a very multidisciplinary approach towards education that has happened. And um, and and another advantage of the foreign universities is that the gap between the top schools
Yes.
and the next top schools is not that huge. So even if you aim for the Stanfords and the Harvards and you don't get into Stanfords and Harvards, it's not a very big fallout as much as it is in India when you don't get into the top colleges, because the gap is pretty huge.
Very true. As a matter of fact, I've heard from a lot of PhDs in mathematics or pursuing a PhD in math that they prefer to work in small colleges like Harvey Mudd versus Stanford and Harvard because they don't get that much time with their professors. So people who are really serious about their core subject like to work in these small colleges versus these big name colleges.
And also to add to that, there are a lot of good people in these small colleges, and having good mentors, I cannot tell you how important is that. One good letter of recommendation from good people is way better than getting a letter of recommendation from a Stanford faculty, for that matter, just to
Mhm.
take a name. So it makes a big impact having good mentors. For example, my advisor at Michigan State is one of the best when it comes to the field in which he's working. Lot of times what happens is, when we are in India, we go with the brand, but we don't know these small nuances when it comes to selecting the colleges. There are people, for example, I mean, if you really know that you are interested in a particular area, then maybe there is no one in the working in that area in these top colleges, but there is someone who is working in that area in a not so well-known college, and that's where you really want to go, because you want to work closely with someone. But again, it depends on whether you have that kind of clarity by the time you have reached that stage. And
Mm.
again, it comes back to getting more exposure. You're able to decide, okay, this is the area that is really interesting to me, and these 2 3 areas can be combined together, and I'm going to go ahead in this area. So
I think that multidisciplinary approach that you can take in these foreign universities is the biggest draw for these kids to go abroad. And it's heartening to see that Azim Premji and all those universities are trying to do that in India now.
Hmm.
There are a couple of questions
Sorry,
from.
I wanted to add something to maybe one comment and then one option that can be considered. So one is, if you get into the best of universities and you're not in the top over there, that can be very frightening for the students, because those who get into top universities, they would be toppers in their school, in their district or state, and they are not used to coming, somewhere toward, in the lower ranks, so to say. So that can really affect them badly, and this is what I have got to understand from some faculties who are in and outside India as well, that if you are not that good to be in the top of in the top of places like Harvard, MIT, and Stanford, and those kind of places, then you better choose a different college where you can actually be a topper. Now, this, in our tradition, we have a lot of proverbs and other things which are connected to this, that this is not a good thing. But what is good about getting into not that great college, but maybe one or two ranks less, is that you might be best in the class, and then these are the kind of students where with which the professors want to work, right? So you can start doing internships with them, research with them, and so on and so forth. So that gives you an exposure, and over there you might not get a very good chance. So that can be very, even though we are, like Hari said, the brand name is something that is very attractive, but this is something that we need to keep in mind. And even in the IITs, I know personally, students who are struggling because they prepared for the exam, they were not prepared for the college. So that's a big difference. We are preparing for an exam, but how do you survive these 4 years in that particular college? What kind of learning skills do you need? That was not focused much. Coming to another point is, there are also students who do undergrad for 2 years or 3 years in India, and then continue it from some university abroad. I mean, there are routes that way also, and that actually earns you a certificate from that particular college. So in terms of saving some costs, and if parents are also concerned that after 12th my child is too young to go and live, maybe they can spend 3 years here. But in those 3 years, to get to get admitted into a good college over there, they'll have to start doing some good reading and working as interns with professors and things like that. So that way they can show some kind of good profile, and they can try to switch to. So it may cost just 1 year or at the most 2 years of fee, and we can buy an extra house with that fee over there.
It's a very valid point, to be they say the horse's head than the lion's tail. So if you are in a small college and you stand out, you have a better chance of doing, getting into a good grad school, especially abroad, versus, going to Yale or Harvard and then not being in the top 50%. And then you don't get those recommendation letters that you need to further on in your graduate program. There are a couple of questions that have come up. What is a good age to put your child into IIT coaching?
So I'll go. Okay, sorry. So Hari wasn't unmuting himself, so I'll take this question. So, like I said, the first is, let's identify which are the places where we want to, where we want to apply, and where do we stand a chance. So, places like the other places, CMI, ISI, APU, Azim Premji University, Ashoka. So there you need a certain set of skills. So if you are very good in Olympiad kind of math, then it is easier, not easy, easier to crack these kind of entrance exams as compared to the competition that one might face for the JEE. Again, so and then if if you are really keen at some place like, say, IIT Kharagpur, IIT Kanpur, or IIT Bombay, where you have finalized the kind of thing that you want to go, so then JEE coaching, I think you'll have to start at 11th standard. I would say that is a good time to do that. But if you are keeping JEE as a backup, I don't think that's a good idea. It's sailing on two different boats. So if somebody is giving it, let them give their full go into that particular thing, and then proceed. And even along with that, doing some kind of Olympiad math might not be a bad idea, because the kind of exam JEE is, it is more to do with speed and accuracy and those kind of stuff. But once you get into IIT, you are not going to do those kind of stuff. It's really deep stuff. In fact,
Mm.
one of our Ram TP first camp students, one of the best. He was one of the best I had ever seen. He would just sit like this, fiddling with his pen, and he would just create an entire proof in his head, and then he'll write it down in just maybe 3 or 4 steps. So he got into IIT Kanpur or Kharagpur. I don't remember. One of them, I think Kanpur.
Correct.
So Kharagpur. Okay. So he got into IIT Kharagpur, and then he told me, first year most of the students failed in math. Can you imagine? I mean, we just this is like, getting a job in TCS, getting a job in Wipro. We feel life is so good after that. But then but then these kids struggle, because for 2 years they have forgotten how to do good math, how to write a proof and so on and so forth. So that is, I think, this kind of Olympiad thing will keep it a little balanced, and then so yeah, so that's my 11th standard, not earlier than that.
So you're saying 11th is the time to decide between, say, the IITs or foreign universities, so the SATs, or the Asim Premji CMI type of
No, I didn't
training.
say that. No, I didn't say that. I said 11th is when we can start with the JE coaching if they are keen on JE. But if you
Mm,
want to apply for universities abroad, I think you'll have to start working from ninth standard, build a profile, and
that's
all
true.
those things. Yeah, so that will definitely be required. So if you haven't started that early, then maybe you'll have to do something at the last minute, 11th and 12th in 2 years. You'll have. There are students who have started in 11th and 12th, and they have gotten through as well. But then it's always good to start a little early. Yeah.
Mhm. There's a question about actuarial sciences. I think Hari can take that.
Yeah, so actuarial science is a very good area, and thank you for bringing that up because I missed on that. So actuarial science is looking at statistics, economics, uh, and mathematics, and it's a fantastic career option if you are looking at risk management. So most of the actuaries work in the field of insurance, because that's one area where the demand for actuaries hasn't yet met. So once that demand is met, we will think about employing actuaries in other fields. It's an extremely lucrative career. There are very few people who have completed the entire course on actuarial science. It's more like it's a correspondence course at this point of time. So the Indian Institute of Actuaries provides a course where you have to clear 16 exams. It generally takes over the period of 5 years. So you can do it along with your college, and you also appear for these exams, and after clearing 4 or 5 exams you start working, and slowly and gradually you complete all the 16 exams. But once you do that, it's a fantastic and lucrative career option. So it
So,
combines statistics, math, and economics.
okay, thank you. So besides actuarial science and perhaps, jobs in data science and software companies, what are the other options available as careers in India for children who pursue, I mean, for students who pursue pure math
uh, mm, I mean, once you're talking about pure math, so when you take
or even
pure math.
applied math? Yeah.
So applied math will depend upon the area in which you're applying your mathematics. So it could be in the field of engineering, and in the traditional areas you can combine it with physics. I think a lot of companies do value quantitative skills a lot, and the, we know the options in software companies, data analytics, but even in traditional areas, if you are really good at quantitative skills, it's a big plus. I think I cannot specify one particular industry, because all industries require some kind of quantitative skill set. Even in accounting, if you do something beyond what accountants generally do, it's a big plus when you go for interviews if you can explain to them how you can use your quantitative skills in an applied angle. Basically, what you're doing is you have these skill sets and you have problems. So in every industry, you have different problems to solve. And in each of these problems, you can always apply your quantitative skill set. It could be fraud detection, for example, in accounting. It could be investment decisions in finance. It could be understanding how COVID is spreading, and what are the ways in which we can find out to provide capacity decisions for hospitals, how to procure certain things, supply chain. So all these areas will need candidates with strong quantitative background.
Hmm. One more question from the parents. What is the difference between a CS course at IIT Bombay versus a course at CMI?
Um,
Vinay?
yeah, so we have a TA from IIT Bombay. Unfortunately, he's not here today, and one from CMI.
CMI,
So
yeah.
we can ask that and post whether they'll be able to tell us topics which will make give us a good picture is not known, because they will be just high level. But from what I have understand is CMI students have said they teach us three subjects: math, CS, and theoretical physics, and all three are maths. They just cheat us with three different names. It is just maths that we do with pen and paper, even though we call it CS. So I don't know whether it is the same thing in IIT Bombay, because it might be a slightly different flavor of computer science that they might get um, uh, over there. So and most people, most profs in CMI, they do intensive research. I mean, they are one of the best in what is that? Algebraic geometry and things like that. So they are a good team over there. And in IIT Bombay, CS department would be part of the entire thing. So it won't be as big as it is in CMI. So the flavor could be different, but I'll have to check. So yeah, so IIT, yeah, so the same, Vivek, I just saw your question. IIT Bombay has a math program, and again, this student, this TA who's there, we can ask him how is it different from, maybe the two TAs of CMI and IIT Bombay, they can talk and they can tell us
There's
about it.
a
We'll try to share that in the, yeah.
there's a question from Shubha. Good question. She's asking about the career opportunities in India for academia and research in math.
Oh, academia and research, there are plenty of opportunities. I think that's one area where you can easily find opportunities, especially in pure math areas. So a lot of good universities are doing good research in math and uh, science, to be precise. IITs are there, IISCs are there, IMSC is there, which is in Chennai, which is which only focuses on research and has postgraduate level uh, courses. TIFR is there, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, where you
Mhm.
can pursue research. Again, an institute which only focuses on research. It doesn't have any courses to offer. I think it has a PhD program. That's about it that I'm aware of. So plenty of opportunities, really good opportunities in India itself for math and science. So I won't be worried if the kid is interested in research or academia. Uh, I think there are plenty of opportunities in India itself.
Mm. And there's a comment from Aarti saying IITs are focused on IT companies hired by
So that's,
top.
I think she said triple IT, not
Oh, triple
IIT.
IT. Oh, okay.
Yeah, triple
Okay.
IT, perhaps triple IT
Mm-mm.
Hyderabad. Yeah.
Mm-mm. Um, there's a question from Vagisan. How often do you see students pursuing post graduation in math or transitioning to allied fields after undergrad? Um, uh, Vagisan, is it postgrad in India or postgrad abroad?
Both.
Both. Oh, sorry, Gayatri. No, the thing is, I if it was some other child's name, I would think it is a parent. But coming from Vagisan, I know he writes this well, so I didn't know if it was the parent or the child.
We log into
So
two different sessions from the same room. I do.
Okay.
So I think at least in India, many of them who take undergraduation in math in not these kind of colleges, the lower tier colleges, are people who wish to pursue let's say teaching as a career. So many of them, they take up a BSc and then a B.Ed course, and then they settle for that. And how many of them actually do an MSc is questionable, because from even from some of them who are working in national bodies, and who have done their undergrad in math, they have told me that we never understood what kind of math they did to us in college, because that is not what the kind of math that we thought we will get. So they did not pursue it ahead. So, but from these premier institutions, I think quite a few of them might be pursuing post graduation, and at least from CMI and ISI, I know that there are a lot of them who go. So and where they go is also almost certain. They go to TIFR, or they go to IMSC, or they continue with CMI. So that is, but I think one of the main reasons, because they see their faculty doing research, right? It's not something like a gyan that is told to them. They see them day in and day out doing that. And yeah, so I think only those guys go. Or maybe if you want to do a PhD or something like that, then maybe you might get into a pure math master's program. Or yeah.
Pallavi has a question. Pallavi, would you like to unmute and ask? And parents, you can just unmute and ask as well. Pallavi?
Actually, we both are attending the session from the same room, so it will be difficult. But still, what are your views about turning our own personal interest into a career?
Okay, I have very strong views. Hari can go first.
I would like to hear the strong views first.
Okay, so I think I mean, in my own case, I am from a commerce background, and I worked in the industry for about 7 years before I came to teaching, and now it's been 11 years that I'm into teaching. But it was more like a organic way in which things started falling into place, and I figured out what I should be doing and all that. I don't know if people would really like to pursue that, because now I don't know whether I would have made that decision that I made 11 years back. But nevertheless, now I'm connected to a lot of people who are all self-employed and doing things out of their own interest, and they were able to find out the place. One thing that we need to be mindful is, what are we pursuing as passion, and what is the influence of technology over there. I think this is something that we need to think in terms of, if you are pursuing something that technology can take over and that is your passion, then it might be a threat for you, but then you will have to work around how you can do that. For instance, I have an aunt who was a wonderful artist, but she couldn't adapt to technology. So she, now and then after a point, she was out of job. But could she have done that, then it would have been really good. It would be turning passion into their own interest. And along with that, I think there are certain things that we need to have, that is the ability and the flexibility, basically, to do things which we even don't like. So when I started, I had to do a lot of things which I never liked. When I never liked marketing, I never liked going and talking to people, because I was happy sitting in front of my computer and doing my things. But then if our path demands that, then we'll have to adapt ourselves. And that, I think, I got a lot of opportunities when I was younger to do a lot of these things. So it's not just passion, but there are also other factors that we will have to consider and equip ourselves with. And I would say, just go for it. Worst come worst, you lose. You give it a try for 2 or 3 years, see if it works. If it I mean if there are people who give try to for more years, right? So I think it's a subjective thing, right? And I think it will be fulfilling. Yeah. Hari.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting point you made about technology's impact and your flexibility or adaptability. To add to that, I think you should be able to offer something really unique. If that is some you are interested in something and you want to make it a career, try to provide something that is not available to them. For example, when Vinay sir teaches, he teaches in a way that is very difficult to get from somewhere else. So that is the unique proposition that he brings in. So when you bring something really unique into your offering, uh, it can easily become a good career option. But having said that, also try to have something as a backup, that is have something that is very traditional, so to say, which which you can fall back on if required.
Any questions from the parents? You can raise your hand.
Yes, Gayatri.
So a lot of traditional jobs are, on the threat of getting replaced in the next 20 years, 30 years. So how do you see somebody getting skilled in mathematics? As I feel it is more sustainable rather than doing something like an engineering, because you are trying to train yourself in something niche. Can you talk about it?
Yeah, I think that's a very, very, very important point, because the demand for skills are changing rapidly, whereas the supply of skills is not keeping pace. Let us be very, very open with this, that our education system is still in this old traditional ways of doing things, and there is a huge gap between the demand for the skills and the supply of skills. And that is exactly the reason why you will have to find out opportunities or ways by which they can get these skills from places which we traditionally do not think of getting, like the schools or the colleges. That's the first thing. uh, the second thing is, as you mentioned, mathematics, which is really fundamental to many different areas, is going to definitely be helpful. It creates a very strong base for you, and from there you can always dwell into different areas depending upon what the demand for the skill is, and whether you are really interested in pursuing that skill set. The other thing that we have to be mindful about is, if you think about my previous generation, they went to college, then they started working, and then they retired. In my generation, you go to college, you start working, then you go back to college, upgrade your skills, you come back. Now, in the next generation, you will go to college, you will start working, you will go back, you will come back to working, you will go back. So there will be more back and forth that will take place between going to educational institution and getting into a job market. The reason for that is the demand for the skills changing so rapidly that you will have to upgrade yourself. So what will not change is this core areas like mathematics, where you need a strong basic understanding of that to apply it in many different fields.
And one thing
And
we
I,
didn't go ahead, Vinay, please.
yeah. So, and I think just a small point. Math as a skill set in itself, as in how do you attack problems. This is something that can be helpful for anybody in any field, and they will definitely stand out in their team of whatever kind of job they take, because they know how to solve problems and not just pass it on to a different department or somebody else. So that, I think, by in itself is a great skill, and where they all can stand out if they love math. Yeah, sorry,
And
Sindhu, go ahead.
let me add to what Vinay was saying. I think problem solving is one aspect, and that's a very, very, very important aspect. But what we don't do well is is identifying the problem. I think identifying problem is so important to be successful. That what problem do I actually want to solve? There are so many problems to solve, but I don't want to solve all of them. There are some problems that are really, really important. So if you think about, for example, Netflix, it solved a particular problem. Airbnb, it solved a particular problem because people had this demand for places where they wanted to stay, but there was a shortage of places available. So Airbnb came up with an idea, and that idea or identifying the problems. So these kids know if you give them a problem, they know how to solve it. But we need to do a better job as educators, as parents, trying to help them identify problems. And that's what I think Vinay has started doing really well. And that is to make students think creatively and come up with problems to formulate. And that's very important.
Um, any other questions? Ishan's parent has a question.
We have a very great heritage of maths, but even though we don't have any Nobel Prizes in maths, where we lack and where other countries lead, what is exactly that point from the childhood to the whatever age is no bar for the Nobel and all, but what is exactly the problem? Where is the problem at different ages?
I have hung out with Vinay and Hari so much that I could answer this question, but I'll leave Vinay to answer this. Do you want to start with the math circles, Vinay?
So I think it's the kind of opportunities that in most countries that they have, where if somebody is good in something, they can find a peer group, they can find mentors, they can find, like Sindhu was saying, a math circle, and through that a lot of things can happen from a young age. And I think the second thing is definitely, you, of course, all the good college research and all those things are there. But then again, there is, I think this is my personal view, you may take it or not, is that we need somebody to look up to, right? I mean, if we have somebody from our country, or, our this thing, then that is also something that is very inspiring. So I think many of these countries and universities, when they have Nobel laureates over there, the others, they come with some kind of aspiration to that particular place, that I also want to aspire for something like this. But in our country, who's aspiring? How many of them might be even aspiring for something like that? I'm not talking about school, even in college, how many of them might be thinking, I want to aim for the fields, I want to aim for the Turing Award, I want to aim for the Nobel. Maybe they feel that this is not, they don't have anybody to look up to. So I think that is something that we are really missing on. And we should really, I mean, just think of all the Olympics, and you can take any field where we have role models to look for. Say, for example, cricket, we have a very good team, and then when we have look, so there are a lot of things that automatically start coming. Oh, we need more coaches, and more coaching centers and all those things for cricket. But then it has to start shining somewhere, and I think then more people will follow, is my take on that.
And I think also the public perception and policy on gifted education should change in India, right? Here we have lots of problems when it comes to education. We also definitely have problems where we have people who don't even go to school. But at the same time, the focus, CSR outreach and everything is towards that sector, that gifted education takes a big hit. So we are not building the leaders and statesmen. It is looked up as like an elite problem, right?
Mhm.
So last 20 years, we've not really made much progress in gifted education, whereas US and Russia have so many math circles, gifted programs like, Epsilon, Math Path, Math Camp, and so on. We don't have anything like that in India. So how do we expose our children to that if this policy doesn't change?
And I think one of the problems, or one of the limitations that I see as we as individuals that need to address, is not so much about underachieving, but it is more about under aiming. I think when I read a lot of forms, when I read a lot of forms in Raising a Mathematician training program, where one of the questions is, what are your career aspirations? And so many students write IIT. I mean, it's just mind-boggling to read that career aspiration is to get into IIT. That's such a very myopic goal to have. I think if we need to give better goals or better aims to our kids, and I think that will make a big difference. And I think we can learn a lot from how sports is doing. If you look at badminton, for example, the kind of strides that we have made in the field of badminton is phenomenal. And it has not happened because of a systemic change. It has happened because one man, Pulela Gopichand, had that vision where he started with a training academy and he created an ecosystem where many players came together, and then it just went one step at a time, and we are now a force to reckon with when it comes to badminton. And that is exactly what we have to do. I mean, we can always blame the government, we can always blame the system, that there needs to be more money to come in. I think we as a group can start with these math circles, and then we can slowly and gradually, with the help of support, now we have very nice people, parents like Gayatri ji, who is doing fantastic job with the prime factor blog, for example. I think having more and more parents like you with educators like us, we can take it to the next level. And in the next 20 years, 30 years, we will be able to achieve, if we have a very big vision and very big aim to begin with.
I think we're out of time. So thank you. Any questions, or can we stop, Vinay? I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
we're out
So
of
we
time.
can ask if there are any final questions. Uh, all right.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us, where we discussed everything and came to nothing at the end. Again, the idea of this discussion was not to give you one straight answer, because there's no answer like that. But I hope it, got you thinking. I've had these conversations with Vinay and Hari, and I felt that it has changed my perspective. And all of us have kids who are very creative with their mathematical endeavors. So IITs are not the only answer, and there are different things that we can explore for our children. So even to come to that conclusion, took me a few years. So I hope that you all got something out of this, and it will help you during the time when you have to make decisions for your children. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for
Thank you.
joining. Really appreciate it.